Welcome back, guys. Happy Tuesday. So as promised, today I'm doing page 2 and 3 of your notes. And again, we are in Module 12. So if you remember from the previous video, we had talked about combustion. Combustion is just a part of our typical digestive system, to where whatever we eat, whether it's meat or plants or whatever else it may be, combustion is what helps us actually take that food and make it into usable energy for our bodies. So this picture is coming from your textbook. So if this picture, if you don't like the black and white, you can always just look at your textbook. And I can't remember exactly what page it's on, but it is in Module 12, and it's figure 12.6. So steps of combustion. So before we even talk about the details of what actually happens, let's discuss where it happens. So combustion actually takes place in the mitochondria. And if you remember, mitochondria is one of the organelles that we had learned about in Module 10. So the mitochondria is responsible for storing the cell's energy. So it would only make sense that combustion, since combustion makes energy, it takes place in the mitochondria where energy is stored. So I know this picture is a little crazy to look at, but right here is step 1, and it's called glycolysis. Right here is step 2, and it's the Krebs cycle. And then step 3 is the electron transport system, or it's also called the electron transport chain. It has 2 different names for it. So the way I want you to think about this is glucose represents the food that we eat. Okay, so this big molecule right here is essentially food. So as we eat the food, it goes through glycolysis. So during glycolysis, it gets broken into simpler, smaller pieces of glucose. So you can see we start out with this big, huge molecule of glucose, and now we have 2 smaller forms of glucose. And then not only does it make glucose, but we also have hydrogen right here, which is another atom. So after we get the 2 smaller molecules of glucose and the hydrogen atom, then it goes into the Krebs cycle, which is step number 2. So during step number 2, that's where we get a little bit more energy. The glucose breaks down into carbon dioxide and oxygen. Remember, carbon dioxide is what we are eventually going to breathe out of our lungs, and oxygen is what we take in to our lungs. After the Krebs cycle, then it goes into step 3, which is the electron transport system. So as you can see, we get even more energy. Notice how the energy bubble gets really big on this last step here. So that's why we eat, is to get energy for our bodies. We also get water, which would be in the form of, we would sweat it out, or we would even urinate it out. But that water is a byproduct of the food that we eat. And then we also get more oxygen, of course. So if this picture doesn't make any sense to you, I tried to make it a little less confusing. Hopefully I succeeded with that. So right here I kind of put that there's like a 4-step system, but it's the same thing as what I was just explaining. So step 1, you eat the glucose, which is food. Okay. Then glycolysis breaks down glucose, or your food. And then next, the Krebs cycle takes the glucose and makes oxygen, carbon dioxide, and a little bit of energy with it. And then, last but not least, after the Krebs cycle, the electron transport system continues to make even more energy and oxygen, hydrogen, along with water. Now, hopefully that's a little less confusing. If not, I apologize. I am trying my best, but it's hard without being face to face with you guys. So that's page 2. This entire page deals with nothing but combustion, which again is just an extra step of how we digest our food to become energy. So that brings me to page 3. So page 3 is talking about an energy pyramid. So this, you can kind of think of it as a food chain in a way. An energy pyramid is based on what eats what, except it's in the form of a triangle rather than a food chain. So I'm going to start just by defining energy pyramid for you. So it is a pyramid that shows feeding relationships and energy change. So in other words, it's another way of a food chain. It's just in a pyramid form. Okay, now the next thing, before I go into the triangle part, I want to actually skip down here to the bottom. And this is just a reminder of the very first video that you watched. Consumers eat food. Remember, this is going to be things like meat and other plants. And if it's a scavenger, then it'll eat trash and dead organisms even. So the food, of course, would be, anything that was once alive. And that particular type of food that it's eating has macronutrients and micronutrients in each meal. So macronutrients is your proteins, your carbohydrates, your fats. Micronutrients is the vitamins and the other smaller nutrients that you're going to get from eating food. Okay, and I know this is a little over your head as 6th graders, but this will come easier to you the older you get. But again, macronutrients would be the protein, the carbs, the fats. The micronutrients would be the vitamins that you get from each meal. Producers, again, these are plants, so they don't actually eat anything. They are getting their energy from sun, if they are photosynthetic, or from chemicals. So again, sun would mean that they are photosynthetic. And then if they get their energy from chemicals, then that means that they are going to be chemosynthetic. Okay, so you have your consumers that eat food, and you have your producers that don't eat anything, but they sit out in the sun or they absorb chemicals all day. Okay, that would be the life, wouldn't it? Okay, so that brings us back to our energy pyramid. So just like in a typical food chain, down here at the bottom, you are going to have your plants, okay, because the plants are photosynthetic and they don't eat anything, so they are at the bottom of the food chain. One second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Somebody rang my doorbell. So again, plants are going to be at the bottom of the food chain because a lot of things eat plants and plants don't eat anything in return. Now notice how I have a little 100% down here. That means that plants are going to make 100% of their energy through sun. So that is why we actually need plants. And they are so important to us because they are the ones that are making the energy for all of us other organisms to survive off of. Okay? So plants, again, another name is producers, and they make 100% of their energy. Next is the herbivores. The herbivores are the plant eaters. Okay, so these are things like cows, deer, squirrels, certain types of birds, pigs even, things that survive solely off of plants, again, are the herbivores. And these are what we consider to be primary consumers. Because remember, consumers is anything that eats something else, which would be some type of animal. So they are primary because they are the first level that actually eats something. Okay, so first level that eats something else. So they are a primary consumer. Now notice here that they have a 10%. So what that means is the 10% of energy that, well, actually let me rephrase that. So plants make 100% of their energy. Okay, out of that 100%, plants are actually kind of greedy. The primary consumers are actually only going to get 10% of that 100%. So 10% of the energy that they are getting is what they are eating of the plants. Okay, so the energy you can see is going to decrease the farther up you go, because each level has to keep some of that energy for survival. The next one is the secondary consumers. So again, this is the second level that actually eats something else. So they are secondary consumers. These are going to be things that are usually omnivores, which means that they can eat these guys or these guys. Or they are carnivores, which means that they only eat these guys. Okay, so let me rephrase that one more time. So the omnivores can eat these guys and these guys. The carnivores are only going to eat these guys. Okay, because these are the plants. These are actually animals. These are animals, and these are animals. So again, you would have plants down here. You would have things like cows and squirrels and deer right here. Okay, only plant eaters. And then right here, you would have things like, it could be bears, because bears are omnivores, dogs, cats, possibly even eagles or vultures, anything like that that still has a natural predator, but is able to eat other things, is going to be in the secondary consumer. Okay, and again, the energy level is still decreasing. So again, that means that they are only getting a little bit of energy from what they eat. Okay, and then last but not least is the third level, which is the tertiary consumer. Tertiary means third. So these are the third or the highest up level of consumers that eat other things. So most of the time, these guys are going to be carnivores or, again, omnivores. So if they are carnivores, pay attention to my pencil right here. If they are carnivores in this level, then that means that they can eat these guys right here or these guys if they are carnivores. If they are omnivores in the third level, then that means that they can eat anybody from the other three levels below them. Okay, so these guys up here would be like humans, lions, cheetahs, tigers, things like that don't really have any natural predators and that have the power to eat whatever they please. So these guys are at the top of the food chain. So energy, as you can see, is decreasing as you go up the pyramid. Okay, so that means that, I know you don't want to hear this, some of you, but that means that if you are a vegetarian or an herbivore, you are actually going to get more energy from your diet than if you are a person that eats steak for every meal, which is kind of ironic. And then also biomagnification and bioaccumulation. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with this, but it's the chemicals that get passed on through each level. So have you ever heard that seafood has mercury in it? So mercury is one of those chemicals that get passed on through each type of fish. So as you eat the fish, you get that mercury as well. So again, it's just the chemicals that get passed on throughout the levels. So those chemicals are going to be increasing as you go up the pyramid. And this stuff right here, biomagnification and bioaccumulation, that will not be on your test. That is just a fun fact. And you will learn more detail about that when you get to high school. Now these layers, okay, they have a name, and the name is called trophic levels. They are not just called lines or layers, they are actually called trophic levels. Okay, so this is a trophic level, this is a trophic level, and a trophic level. Okay, and I think that's it for page 3. So just kind of look over this, pause it as you need to write this stuff down, and I will post another video for the following pages. Have a great day, guys.